Hi there, welcome to Chill Mama Wellness Online. My name's Amy Vaccaro, and in the next half an hour or so I'm going to be guiding you through some breathing exercises. The wonderful thing about your breath is that it can help you really to tap into what we call the parasympathetic nervous system response. So most of the time during life, we're going through life being in one of two states, either a sympathetic state or parasympathetic nervous system state. So our sympathetic nervous system is responsible for our fight or flight response. And given that in Western society we're usually living with some kind of chronic level of stress, we're often in a sympathetic nervous system state of arousal. In a parasympathetic nervous system state, we call that our rest and digest state. And when we're talking about how to become calmer in life, and especially if we're thinking about labour and birth, we want to try and tap into that parasympathetic nervous system as easily and as quickly as we possibly can. And regulating your breath is one of those ways that you can easily tap into that parasympathetic nervous system. So the breathing techniques that I'm going to share with you today are really simple, but they do take practice. Often we learn to breathe with just the upper parts of our chest. So what I'm going to guide you through today is how to actually breathe down into the lower parts of your body, down into your belly, down into your pelvis, so that you can then head into a more relaxed state of being. And really, after some practice, if you're starting to feel stressed, if you're starting to feel like your sympathetic nervous system is starting to take over, all you need to do is pause, take a moment, fill yourself with breath. 2 or 3 rounds of deep breath can sometimes be all you need to bring yourself back into a state of calm. So let's begin. So just find somewhere really comfortable to sit. A nice comfy chair with a straight back, or you can lie down in bed to do this exercise as well. It's just as easy to do that. And in fact, when you're lying down in bed, you get a better sense of your belly rising and falling. As you're more practiced, you can sit and find that rise and fall of your belly much more simply. If you are pregnant, lying on your back might not be recommended, so it might be easier for you to find this in a seated position or in a semi-recumbent position. So half lying down with something propping you up. So the first exercise that we come to is learning to breathe into your belly, learning that deep belly breath. And it's as simple as focusing on your belly as you take a breath in, and focusing again on your belly as the breath comes back out. So what we're going to do is you can bring your hands to your belly, and I have a great belly for demonstrating this. It is really expansive. So from my years of singing. So you can interlace your fingers over the top of your belly, just like this, over the top of your belly button. And where we're breathing towards is a point which in Zen Buddhism they call the hara, which is the central point of the body. So the hara is about 1 inch below your belly button. So from here, you can close down your eyes just to get a better sense of feeling into your body. And I'm going to have my eyes closed while I teach you this, because it's easier for me to teach this as I'm feeling it. So as the breath comes, just get a sense of your breath moving first. So we might just notice how the breath comes into the body and how the breath goes back out again. And just do that for a few rounds of breath, just feeling the breath coming in and feeling the breath going out again. No need to control your breath. Just notice it. And just notice whether the breath moves in and out through your nose, or in and out through your mouth, or perhaps a combination of both, perhaps in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just notice. And then again, just notice where the breath actually moves your chest. Just notice whether it's the top part of your chest, or whether just by stopping and slowing and observing your breath has automatically started to deepen. From here, we start to manipulate the breath. So if your breath isn't already, we start to shift the breath in through the nose and back out through the nose again. And then we start to deepen the breath even further. So on the inhale, you're observing those fingers that are interlaced across your belly, and observing how on the inhalation you can breathe all the way down to the hara, that point just below your belly button. And observe that expansion of your belly and the opening of your fingers. And on the exhalation, back out through your nose. The belly's contracting back towards your spine, and your fingers are interlacing again. So a few rounds of breath, that deep belly breath, aiming for that point just below your belly button. Three more rounds of deep belly breath. And just notice how pleasant it is just to breathe. To breathe freely. Just enjoy your breath. Just this and just now. Just breathing. Just bringing your hands back down to your knees and opening back up your eyes. And that's the start of your journey towards breathing freely. From here, we start to build on with some other exercises that can be really useful for your breath and really useful for tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system response. So the next step on from that deep belly breathing is to start to perhaps count the breath. So as you're working through that deep belly breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose, the next step is to start to count how long it takes for your inhalation to come in and how long it takes for the exhalation to go back out again. So we're going to do this together. So again, you might like to bring your hands to your belly if that feels useful for you. If you know that you need your hands there to reassure you of when your belly is moving and rising with your breath and falling with your breath. If you're already feeling really confident with that, then your hands can just be cupped in your lap, or if you're lying down, just resting easily by your side. So I'm going to bring my hands to my belly just to guide you through here. So closing down through your eyes once more, just to feel a little bit more intimate with the breath as it's moving in and moving back out again through your nose. Just getting a sense again of that nice deep belly breath, that breath going all the way down to the hara, that point just below your belly button. And we're noticing how the belly is expanding on the inhale and contracting on the exhale. And then start to count your breaths. So count for the inhale. And then count again, noticing how long the exhalation takes. So for me, I notice that my breath takes 4 counts in and 4 counts back out. So the next step from here is to start to lengthen the exhalation. So we can start doing that by even just increasing it by 1 count to start with. If we're just learning to deep belly breathe, 1 count extra on the exhalation can be enough. Then we might start to add an extra count, so it might become 2 counts, until eventually you can double the length of the exhalation. So for my inhalation, I can count 4 breaths in. For my exhalation with practice, I'm aiming to get to 8 counts, but I don't want to pass out in the process. We want to do that in a nice, calm, gentle way that feels really relaxing. So this lengthening of the exhalation is a really quick way to get into that parasympathetic nervous system response. So let's begin. So starting with your deep belly breath, remembering what that count was, just noticing that breath coming in, that breath going back out. So for me, my count in was for 4 and my count out was for 4. So this time I'm going to aim to lengthen the exhalation just by 2 counts. So I'm breathing in for 4 and breathing out for 6, just to begin. And then just releasing again, setting your hands back down to your knees if you're seated, or just resting your arms by your side if you're lying down. Opening back up your eyes if you feel comfortable to do so, or just keeping them closed if it's more comfortable to listen to my voice while they're closed. The next step from here is to know that you can use that lengthening of the exhalation anytime. So you might have just been in a really busy working environment or a difficult meeting, or you might have the kids in the back of the car driving home from school and they're crazy. Whatever it is that's happening in your day, it's really easy to take a few rounds of breath, and it might just be that deep belly breathing slowly and deeply without actually counting the inhalation and exhalation. That might just be all you do. If you can, and you have a few moments, you can start counting the length of the breath and starting to lengthen that exhalation, just as a quick way to rejig, reset, before you go on with the rest of your day. So another really nice way of breathing, which isn't sort of something you can probably do publicly. Deep belly breathing you can do in public. It's not a problem. No one actually knows that you're deep belly breathing, especially if you're underneath a table. But this next pranayama, which is the word that we use for breathing in Sanskrit for yoga, pranayama, breathing practices, is called alternate nostril breathing. And people will definitely know if you're doing this in public. So, you might need to extricate yourself if you're in a public situation and getting a little bit worked up and you need to find your breath again. You might need to take yourself to an area where people can't see you. Or, you might just let it all hang out there and alternate nostril breathe in public. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do. Who knows? But this is a really nice one because in yoga, we think about the breath. We think about the right and left nostril as being connected to the energetic parts of our body, especially to our spine. And so when we're working between the right and the left nostril, when we're breathing, we start to bring our body back into a better state of balance. Now, this particular breathing exercise can be quite difficult if you have issues with your nose. So if you have blockages in your nose, especially if you have persistently blocked on one side than the other, or if you've got a cold or something like this, that this particular exercise might not be accessible to you. But I do encourage you to persist if you can and practice and just notice whether this breathing exercise is actually something that you can do or not. I know certainly my husband always says he's always blocked up in one nostril and it persistently changes sides. He never knows which nostril is going to be blocked, but always one of them is. So doing this exercise is a really nice way of actually being able to recognize whether you do have blockages in your nose. And the thing about breathing, and especially yogic breathing, and breathing to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, is that we encourage you to breathe in through your nose and back out through your nose again. Because this is the ideal way of breathing. Our nose is especially designed to receive the breath. So it's nice and moist. There's little fine hairs in there called cilia, which help to filter the air as it's coming in and going back out again. And also our body responds to the breath if it's coming in and out through the nose, because if we're breathing in and out through our mouth, we can go into a sympathetic state of arousal because our body thinks, oh, we need more oxygen, we must be in danger. If we're breathing in and out through our nose, our body thinks, we're okay, we're safe, we're calm, everything's fine, we don't have to run away from a saber-toothed tiger, we're good. So let's start with our alternate nostril breathing. So we take our two fingers, in our index finger and our middle finger, I use my right hand. We place them between our eyebrows. We have our ring finger free and our thumb free. So I'm going to close down my eyes again. You just keep your left hand comfortably on your lap, or if you're lying down in bed. This might be a tricky one to do lying down in bed, but you can definitely do it still. We're going to block off our left nostril with our ring finger, and we take a big deep breath in through our right nostril until our lungs and belly are full, and then we block off our right nostril and exhale the breath all the way out through the left. And then we breathe in through the left. And at the top of the breath, we block off the left nostril and exhale out through the right. Then you just go along at your own pace for a few rounds of breath, breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. And then the next time you exhale all the way out through your left nostril, just bring your hands to rest down in your lap. And then we just return to that deep belly breathing again, in through the nose, out through the nose, sending the breath all the way down to the hara, that central point just below your belly button. And then finishing off, just opening up your eyes and coming back and just noticing how your body feels nice and balanced, how you become much more aware of that sensation through your head, through your nose. So the next one, speaking about sensation, is something that's quite different again. It's called humming bee breath. So with humming bee breath, it's a great thing to use if you are in a situation where you'd like to block out what's happening in the world around you. So say, for example, you were in labour and you just made your way to the hospital, you had arrived and you wanted to just settle into that space that you were comfortable with your care providers and you just wanted to settle into that space. We can use humming bee breath at that point, of course, if your labour's not, if you're not about to push a baby out. Likewise, if you're parenting and you've had a difficult day with a small person, baby that's crying persistently, or a toddler that's been having tantrums all day and you're just feeling at the end of your rope, you can take yourself off to a private location, bathroom usually, or if you've managed to get them settled, or if your partner's come home from work and you know that you've got some time up your sleeves just to walk away and to breathe. Humming bee breaths is a really nice one to use, again, just to create an environment of innerness. It's a really good one for just going deeply within. It kind of feels kind of weird. It looks quite strange. Probably not as strange as alternate nostril breathing, but it feels awesome. So all we have to do is the adult version of going la 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 la, I'm not listening to you. Okay, so all we need to do is find our index fingers, place them in our ears, and then just let our hands rest on the side of our head. So we're going to do 6 rounds of humming bee breath. And so closing down your eyes, all you do is take a big deep belly breath in and hum the breath out. So continuing on for another 5 rounds at your own pace. And then when you've completed, just bringing your hands back down to your lap, keeping your eyes closed, coming back to that deep belly breath. Breath moving in through your nose, back out through your nose. And just becoming really aware of that sensation that's present in your head. Perhaps a lovely, warm, tingly sensation. And just remain present within that warm, tingly sensation, sending your breath to that sensation and see whether you can get it to build a little. Just releasing, opening your eyes again, coming back to just normal breath. Feels nice, humming bee breath. So with humming bee breath, we worked with our throat chakra. So sometimes what can happen, especially if we suffer with anxiety or any type of stress, sometimes we can feel that stress really quite significantly throughout our throat. And it can feel quite tense there at times. So using that humming bee breath and the next pranayama I'm about to show you too can be a really lovely way of releasing some of that tension that might be built in your throat. And often that tension builds because we're not able to say things that we feel that we need to say. So we can use that energy that gathers there, use our humming breath, our humming sound to release that energy that's stored there and, create some looseness throughout our throat. The other thing is in labor, if this part of our body, that's our throat and our mouth, are nice and soft and open and wiggly, so from humming, that sense of vibration, our downstairs region is going to be more open and more relaxed. So there's a direct correlation between how tense we are in our throat and our face and our mouth and our breath, and how tense we are through our pelvic region, especially through our pelvic floor. So it's a really nice thing to be able to do in labour, is to use your voice, your larynx, your voice box, and it doesn't have to be loud. It's just using vibration to be able to loosen that whole area of your body so that the energy can flow easily, so that there's no tension remaining in your pelvis if there doesn't have to be tension there. So the next one is typical yoga, is the chanting of Om. So Om is what the ancient yogis discovered, the sound of the universe. So essentially we're all just vibrating matter. If you think back to year 10 chemistry or science, you might remember how we have atoms in that are the building blocks of life, atoms with electrons buzzing around. So essentially we're all just matter that's vibrating. The whole entire world, the universe, is just one big giant heap of vibrating matter. And so what the yogis found was that vibrating matter has a sound, and the sound is the sound of Om. So you might have been to a yoga class where your teacher chooses to chant Om at the start or at the end of class. You might have been to a yoga class where you don't use Om at all. And I think in Western society, when you come to a yoga class, often you'll be doing yoga at a gym or somewhere like that, where it seems kind of strange to use that chant and to make that sound. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to have a play with it. So what we know, again, just going back to that thought around loose larynx, loose voice box, loose mouth, and loose downstairs region, is that using this type of breath work throughout labour can be a really handy way of keeping you calm and keeping you centred and keeping you relaxed. The other thing that we notice is that kids, babies especially, love the sound of Om, and especially if dad is holding baby. There's a great video that went viral of this dad holding his newborn on his chest, skin to skin, and using that deep Om vibration sound. The baby was crying, and as soon as he heard his dad making that sound, he immediately stopped and became relaxed and calm. So it's something to practice. It may not resonate with you, and that's okay, but unless you know and you try it, you don't know what's going to work for you. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing loud Oms, which you certainly can, so we take a deep breath in and we say Om, and that's the loud Om. Instead of doing the loud Om, what we're going to do is we're going to focus and concentrate that sound, just like we did with humming bee breath. We're going to make it a hum, because that is easier, especially if you're in hospital, if you're having a baby in a hospital environment and you're worried about making noise, and lots of women are worried about making too much noise throughout labour. Can I please say, don't worry about what kind of noise you make. We don't mind. But if you are worried about making noise, and if you know that that's going to derail you somewhat, come back to just that gentle humming sound. You're still making some sound. You're still letting all of this area be loose, but it's enabling you to, not be the loud oming woman in labour, unless that's what you want, and that's totally fine. So come back to that sense of breath. Come back to that breath flowing in through your nose and out through your nose, that deep belly breathing all the way down to the hara, that central point just below your belly button. And then when you're ready, instead of just breathing the breath out through your nose on the exhale, you're going to make the sound of Om as a humming sound on the exhale. body, just returning to that normal breath again, just gently breathing the breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And then when you're ready, coming back, opening your eyes. And there you have it. So there are 5 different techniques that you can use, breathing techniques to help you to calm, to help you come back to that safe parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system state. And with practice, those techniques are really easy, really accessible, and really simple ways to be calm in any situation. Thanks for working with me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.